Hey everyone. So I'm excited to share with you just one way that you can get on the path to helping your child or students begin to love to read. Just starting the process of starting to believe that books can be magical. Now, a few weeks ago, it might even been last week, I posted a quote about this, and I'm going to read it specifically so you can hear it again. It says, "If we treat books like they're magical, kids will grow up believing that too." I love that quote. It's so powerful and I so believe it. And so, how can we start this process of getting our students or kids to start believing that books can be magical? So, here's one thing that you can do, just one question that you can ask them to get on this road to beginning to love to read. So, here's the question. Tell us or tell me one of the books or several books that you have read last school year that you just absolutely loved. And then tell me what made those books so good. This is one of the questions that we ask. One of the first questions that we ask on our online reading assessment is, which were the best books that you've read last year and what made them so good? This is a great question because you really want your kids to be reading books that matter to them, that they're passionate about reading. And so it starts with understanding and knowing what their reading interests are. And so asking this question is so important to get to the root of what they love to read about. And so once you ask this question, you want to make sure you're getting some detailed, specific responses to these questions. Like, for example, I would not accept your child or student saying, "I love this book because it made me laugh," or "I love this book because I love the author," or "I love this book because I love the main character," or "I love this book because I love reading mysteries or biographies or fairy tales," things like that. We want to dig deeper. We want to get to the root of what made the book so good. So you want your child or students to share with you specific details of why. So let's go back to that one response. If your child says, "I love this book because it made me laugh." Okay, so how you can counter that, what you could say in response is, "I know that this book made you laugh, okay, but why? Can you give me a specific example from the book that was so funny to you, that made you laugh so hard? Can you give me an example from the book?" Now, if your child responds and says, "I love this book because I love the author." Okay, so here's how you can dig deeper in with a response to that. Here's what you can say. "Okay, I know you love the author. So what does the author do over and over again in their stories that makes you want to read more stories by them?" Okay? And have them give you specific examples of what that author does time and time again that they just love. And that's why they keep wanting to choose books by them. So once you ask that question, you're really going to dig deeper into what your child's or student's reading interests are. And then once you have that, you can go to the next step. You can now encourage them to find more books or other texts that is related or matches their interests. So let's say, for example, your child or student says, "I really love this book because I really relate to the main character." So the main character, and they give an example. So the main character has a best friend. They're really, really close. And then they find out that one of their parents has to get a new job and they have to move to another state. So now they're leaving their best friend over the summer, and now they're starting a new school without them. And I can really relate to that because that's happened to me, and that's why I love this book. That is a fantastic response. That gives you a lot of details of what types of books to encourage them to get. So here's the types of books I would recommend if your child responds with that type of answer. So number one, they could choose books that are about best friends being really, really close. Number two, they can choose books around the family or the child or the main character having to move from their family or friends. Number 3, they could read stories about starting a new school year all alone, not knowing anyone. Or number 4, they could read a text. They might really enjoy a text around the challenges or hardships of trying to make new friends. Or here's another one about, parents having to make really big decisions that's going to affect their entire family. Those are the types of stories that this child might enjoy and would love to read. And it was all based off of the reading interest, and it was all based off of that one question that you asked them, which was, what were the best books that you have read and what made them so good? Okay, so I encourage you to ask that question to your child or students, and who knows, they might end up start believing that, hey, you know what? Maybe books are magical. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night.